I'm going to be doing another reading of stories from my book of memoir stories, All People Great and Small. People often ask me, what is your book about? And I'm realizing I'm just discovering what my book is about. I picked the stories for this reading very much along the same lines as I did for previous readings, to include some from childhood, some from my adolescence, some from my medical training, some from when I was a professor of psychiatry. But this year, because it's an election year, I really thought it would be great to include some things about sociopolitical questions. And one of the things we know in orgonomy is the difference characterologically between liberals and conservatives. And there's a great story about my mother and my Aunt Tudge that illustrate that difference between liberal and conservative. And then there's a second story that I won't tell you the title of or get into, but it's about me growing up as a Quaker. Looking forward to people hearing them and then open discussion after each of the stories.
Peter, were you afraid?
Was I afraid?
Yeah.
I think so, but again, just what you have to deal with just to do it, yeah. One of the doctors who was there said these stories ought to be read in medical schools for people to get a perspective of the other side of medicine, especially for people in training. We persist with CPR, me compressing the woman's chest and breathing for her with the ambu bag. The resident looks at the defibrillator monitor. 5 shocks, nothing. He looks at his watch and shakes his head. 55 minutes, let's call it. He takes the black shawl from around the woman's neck and places it over her face. The daughter yells, "Mama, no!" Sobs break loose again from the woman, still sitting in the kitchen corner with her hands over her face. What I hope people will take away from this event is a sense of a different kind of psychiatry, a different kind of medicine. "See, Daddy, I'm building a special sand castle," the father said. "I see. You found some special sand over here that you really like." The boy nodded as he squatted to dig up another spoonful. The father handed him a plastic bucket that had been lying in plain sight the whole time while the boy mined his preferred sand. "Here, Evan, use this. It'll be more efficient." Evan looked puzzled, but eased the bucket down by the little hole he'd been excavating and began shoveling sand into it with a teaspoon. The father said, "Here, I'll help you." He picked up the toy shovel. "Let me show you how to use this. It'll be much quicker." Soon the father had filled the bucket, which he handed to his son. "Now you can get much more of your special sand to the other side and build a really big castle." With a look of determination and no trace of the earlier dance in his step, Evan lugged the bucket of sand across the sandbox and dumped it near his castle-to-be. His father said, "See, isn't that much quicker?" Evan gave a few perfunctory pats to shape the pile of sand that now dwarfed his earlier castle. Then he jumped up and ran for the swings. I had taken them as just very personal stories that mattered to me, and how much they touched other people was quite a surprise. And what I'd like people to take from the readings is being personally touched and personally moved by some of my experiences, and also get people thinking. There are several of the stories in this reading that have much more to do with ideas than some of the other stories that are more emotional.
How did you feel reading it to us today?
You might have heard, I had not expected to get quite that emotional, but it really just brought it back to me. Join me for more stories from All People Great and Small at the ACO campus in Princeton, New Jersey.